If the American right wing were to get everything it wants, it would be a horrifying reality. If the left were to get everything it wants, we'd have to figure out a few things, including exactly how we pay for certain programs. But they're mostly noble goals. And I believe that they are more supportive of an individual self-determining what they want to do in life and how they want to live, and is more in line with the idea of freedom and liberty than what the right is currently proposing. That's my view.
In this video, David Pakman completely destroys the MAGA Moron Lex Fridman with points that Lex is not ready to handle. Throughout the interview, Lex tried to trap David Pakman into a woke conversation but failed miserably. So let's watch the video and let me know what do you think in the comments.
And of course, people will disagree with me. They'll say, no, we get to freedom and liberty the way that the right wants to do it. Okay, well, we can have that conversation.
So I think you've implied in your answer it was kind of focused on policy. It felt like it was focused on policy. There's other stuff that people worry about.
Sure.
Particularly with the left. What may be termed the woke mind virus.
Right? Where have I heard? Who's using that term a lot now? I'm trying to think.
I'm not sure. Not sure where it comes up. But the cultural aspect of this.
Sure.
That... you know, if you give a lot of power to people on the left, like as you gave as an example, there would be a lot of kind of censorship and suppression of speech and a kind of dividing up of a society of who's allowed to, basically a reallocation of resources, not based on merit, but based on some kind of high ethical notions of what is right. And only a very small percent of the population gets to decide what is fair, what is right. Which is, you know,
we already have a small portion of the population deciding fair. Okay.
Yes. But I don't know how many different ways I can say kind of a negative characterization of folks on the left when we're now comparing it, just as to play devil's advocate.
Sure.
So is that something that you worry about? So setting policies aside, wokeism.
Yes.
How big of a problem is it?
This is a great conversation. So let's two sides of it. Okay. We have new polling that seems to suggest so-called wokeism is kind of more popular in the United States than anti-wokeism. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. This is the less interesting part. We'll go to the more interesting part second. Sometimes what people mean by wokeism is an overreaction to a perceived injustice that goes beyond what would be fair and equitable. There was this really interesting poll and it asked questions like, for example, do you believe society has gone too far, not far enough, or just about the right amount in dealing with issues affecting the trans community? The woke position, which is society hasn't gone far enough, was far more popular than we've gone too far. Now, the right-wing media narrative is we've gone way too far. This is out of control. And there are lots of other similar answers. It's not a huge margin. A lot of these are like 58 to 42, 60 to 40. It's not like 90 to 10. But by a small margin, the so-called woke perspective of we actually haven't yet done enough to fix some of these issues is a little bit more popular. So if we went back to DeSantis, this is part of why I think DeSantis's anti-woke agenda may just be a political misstep.
Here, David Pakman just showed his awesome ability, and you can see David Pakman acted fearlessly throughout, answering all the questions and attacks Lex Fridman tried to throw at him. If David Pakman doesn't hesitate to talk against Trump, there is no way Lex Fridman has any chance to stand in front of David Pakman. And eventually, that's exactly what happened here. Comment down below if you agree with me on this point.
That's a really interesting result. I wonder how the questions are framed. But it's still interesting, nevertheless, no matter what, to hear that majority of people in America are woke, not in the negative sense of the word.
The poll didn't use the term woke.
Right.
Right. This is a critical thing.
Let's use the term woke positively.
The term has kind of been perverted.
Yes.
4 years ago, when the term was started to be used, I would have said, oh yeah, woke just means like I have become aware of problems that are bigger than any one person can fix for themselves that relate to the system. I think that's what, and we might disagree on which problems fall into that category, but like it was kind of benign. I think now it just means like outrageously left-wing, maybe even with socialist or Marxist undertones. It's become a pejorative at this
But
point.
also like bullies, like people,
Bullies, sure, censorers.
yeah, but people that go around calling others racist, sometimes, oftentimes, without any proof of or justification.
Fair.
But that's a few folks on Twitter. You're saying like the polling is starting to show that like no, there's still most of the Americans still care about these issues and want to improve, want to make progress.
I think that's the case, and they want to do it in a genuine way that doesn't suppress or oppress anybody. But now let me get to like, to what degree do I think that actual, when it goes too far, is a problem? Mm-hmm. It absolutely exists. We can find instances of where this exists on the left. I've been told many times that as a Jewish Argentinian immigrant to the United States, I actually don't qualify as oppressed enough because Jews are privileged now in the US and my family had just enough money to leave Argentina. So there's this kind of like oppression Olympics thing where I've been told you don't get to comment. For example, like a topic in the Latino community now is, are you familiar with Latinx? Mm-hmm. Okay. In Spanish, there's an analogous movement where words by their nature sort of like have a gender. So like the word for friend is amigo. But if it's a woman, you would say amiga. So right from there, you can tell the gender that we're talking about. And if it's a mixed group, you say amigos. It's the male with an S, but it could include both. There's a movement now which wants to do away with that and put the letter E in. It's a new word, okay? It's a gender neutral word, amigues, totally new. I don't like that. And I don't know anyone, no one in my family uses it. And I think it's kind of like a strange imposition from someone kind of with a solution in search of a problem. I've been told, you moved to the US long ago and like your English is good and like you look white. And so like you don't get to weigh in on that. That I think is an example, if I understand correctly, of the type of thing you're talking about. I'm kind of being bullied. I'm fine. I'm surviving fine, but I'm being bullied over it and disqualified and saying you don't get to speak on this issue. All of those examples, all of that stuff, I am completely against. And I tell people on the left, we're actually hurting our own movement with this stuff. I just don't think it's as big as some others believe.
Here, David Pakman just explained that even as an Argentinian Jew, he has to face struggles and consequences, with people calling him out for his ethnicity. But even with so much pressure and difference, it was hard for David Pakman to make a name and place for himself. Every accusation is a confession. We see it now with the censorship from the right again and again from the current administration. I think David Pakman's point is right in a way. It exists in left, it exists in the right, and it's not good for either of them. If we let the right demonize woke and say that therefore anything progressive is bad and must be eliminated, which they kind of pulled off in this recent election, then we are only harming ourselves. And more importantly, it is counter to majority of American people really want politically. Guys, let me know if you agree with me in the comments and let's continue the video.
You don't think it's an existential threat to our civilization in the West? To Western
No, I don't. And I mean, look, we've got a Biden administration. I see Biden as center left. Those who see Biden as extreme far left, this stuff has played almost no role whatsoever in the first 2+ years of his administration.
Well, there's people that see him far left, as far left.
There's people on the right who, I mean, Trump says Biden's a Marxist, socialist, communist.
I haven't heard that because I don't think that would stick very much.
He says it at every rally. Yeah. Which I'm so jealous that you don't watch these things.
I love how deeply researched you are in Trump. I can only imagine how good your Trump impression is at this point.
It's not very, sadly, it's not good.
It's not, all right.
No, but, and I'll say one other thing on that. You know, take trans, because just to talk about it a little bit, we haven't dealt with it much. The trans issue has become huge, I believe, because the right is obsessed with it. The right is very much not concerned with gay men anymore. It used to be that gay men is like, oh, we have to stop gay men from adopting and unnatural and pedophiles. Now it's trans, it's drag shows, etc. I do think that there is a fair question to say, how do we deal with trans women in a very small, short list of sports. That's real. Okay. My view, though, is I go, okay, we have all issues. We have issues related to gender and sexual orientation. We have issues related to trans. Within that, we have specifically sports. You can eliminate from that trans men. Nobody's worried, right, about women, biological women who are trans men. And then when you say it's only in certain sports that it matters, hey, I'm right there. I think it's a complicated question. I don't know how we deal with it. I would ask leagues that have experience with this already and whatever. The problem I have is pretending that the vanguard of left-wing politics right now is trying to force trans women into sports. It's like, it's just not the big issue that the right is reacting as if it were.
I think David Pakman is absolutely at his best. The right is using these culture wars to manufacture fear and impeach over something that, when you calmly step back and look at it, as David Pakman has done here, is nothing more than a distraction. It's not fair. Like, how many people are we talking about? In a country of almost 350 million people, we are talking about maybe 100 cases. Let's just say it's 400 cases across the nation. And this is supposed to be some massive crisis that needs a White House mandate. No, it's a violent distraction, all designed so they can keep doing what they have been doing, transforming wealth from the bottom up, dismantling our democracy, and turning this country into collapse. And unfortunately, they are succeeding. So I think in terms of sticking with the facts, we need to agree that America is actually a fairly progressive-minded country. Most of us want everybody to live a fair life, a life with dignity, a fair shake, privacy, and freedom to live how we want. We don't want other people's opinions shoved down our throats, but the right is exploiting these issues to divide and conquer. And in summary, one of the reasons I admire David Pakman is because he keeps having this conversation over and over, and he only gets sharper every time. He is able to untangle the nonsense, cut through the noise with examples, data, and common sense. Meanwhile, Lex Fridman said they're trying to play intellectual trap games, fishing for woke bait, but David didn't take it for a second. Lex got exposed for what he is, a lightweight in a heavyweight ring. And in the end, this wasn't a debate. It was David Pakman putting on a masterclass and Lex Fridman getting schooled in real life. Guys, if you like this video, please make sure to like, and thanks for watching.